There's a moment that happens every night. When the lights go down, the crowd, they get to this deafening level. The lights, they start to flash. Your heart starts to beat faster and faster.
For me, mentoring is really about taking your talents, taking your gifts, taking your story, and sharing it with somebody else whose story is still developing.
You're not taking it with you, buddy. I mean, what you gave away is what you're taking with you. If you give to others, it'll come back to help you.
There's a moment that happens even farther after that when you've charged through song after song and the crowd is singing along to every word, where time seems to stop. In this moment, I like to stop and I like to scan the entire arena. I'll start all the way to the left, to the right. I scan up, I scan down, and I soak it in. And I soak it in because I remember where I came from, right? Because I know my story. In that moment, I remember the small town that I grew up in and being raised by a single mother with no money, no opportunities that come with it. I mean, getting on a stage like this, statistically, it's not probable. But in that moment, I'm in awe because I get to see all these people. I get to do this thing. During that moment, I can't help but think about that small town of South Texas, about 90 miles from the Mexican border, where I first discovered the guitar. When we first came to this town, we were a family on the run. And my mom had recently married this man who was a coward of a man, really. He thought he could control her with fists and with bruises. So my mom, she sent me and my brothers to go live with a friend of hers. And when my mom was able, she made her get away and she joined us. And we started to build a new life here in this town. But we were also aware that that man was still circling around us. And there were some other bad characters circling around as well. And thankfully, there's a man there who knew my mom, and he suggested to her that, you know, maybe those boys could use a mentor. And specifically, maybe Ed could use a mentor. And I'll wake up and I'll have a phone call from you, and it's like 1 in the afternoon. I'm like, I'm sorry, George, I'm just waking up. What'd you say a second ago? You started to say something about me being a musician, and you're like, you always hated that idea.
I did.
Why is that?
Because you played that loud music and drove me nuts. And I thought, man, this kid ain't gonna amount to a pot of beans. Sure enough.
Yeah. Well, that's a hard business to make it in.
Boof.
Yeah.
You did it.
I remember that at one point, I think you were thinking like,
I thought you were nuts.
Ed, you need to, time to do something, go find something real to do.
I wanted you to.
You did tell me that one time, actually. I forget what you said.
Probably.
Who was it that connected us? I don't even remember. Was it Dr. Bass?
Was it Dr. Bassett was there then?
I think.
Yeah, it was.
For some reason, I'm saying
Dr. Bassett came to me and said, I got a little boy that needs a man tutor. And I said, somebody to take him out. And I went and picked Ed up, take him hunting. He's scared to death of me.
I'll never forget when George showed up and my mom opened the door and I reached out to shake his hands, and I remember these hands that felt like steel. In that moment, I wondered to myself, were these the kind of hands that could inflict pain? Or were these the kind of hands that could snatch you from a flame? My hope was that it was the latter. Lord knows we could use someone to snatch us from the flame. What you don't remember is the first time we went, I just remember thinking, I don't want to go again. We actually didn't get anything that first day.
We didn't?
No, I remember going in the house. I actually remember I cried. I was like, I don't want to go again. But you're like, I'll be here next weekend. And I was kind of like, I hope he doesn't show back up. But, you know, at the same time, I was like, I hope he does.
Well, you were just a little squirt when I got you. My kids, my girls, you know, they loved you from the start. Still think of you as a brother.
Yeah, it's wild to have a family take you in like that. You know, like y'all, like legitimately, I was part of the family.
Exactly.
You know, some people like that. Some people are like, man, I don't want anything to do with kids. You know, I don't, you know, but you always have that good heart and always so good with us.
When you see Jesus, what do you see? Him holding a baby or a child.
Yeah.
And that's just a picture that stuck with me, and I love kids. Yeah. If you didn't have a mentor, anybody to steer you, a man.
Yeah. No, I tell you, George, I always love though, you know, that I tell people all the time that what's crazy is what I've always loved about you is you're just a guy. Like I tell this story about how me wrestling with my boys.
Yeah.
You know, and how I squeeze them till they're about to pop. And they're like, Daddy, Daddy, no, no, no. And I squeeze them. And then I get my whiskers and I rub them like that. And every time I do it, it's because that's how George used to wrestle with me when I was little. And as a dad, that's the kind of influence. I want you to know, like, the big part of who I am as a man and as a father is because I got to have you in my life, right? Even down to having my boys and teaching me how to wrestle and roughhouse with my boys. You know, even like wrestling with them exactly how you wrestled me. That's a pretty big legacy, I'd say, that you've left.
Well, that's what I want to leave. That's. What else do you get in your crown besides that? You know, you can own half the world, and you're not taking it with you, buddy. Only what you gave away is what you're taking with you. If you give to others, it'll come back to help you.
See, George, he taught me what it meant to show up for somebody. George taught me what it looked like to show up for somebody. More importantly, George taught me what it felt like. I learned from George that a man never stands taller than when he's standing alongside somebody else. But George stood like a giant. George still stands like a giant to me. It's because of George I have a heart and a passion for walking alongside other people. I get the importance of it. And as a result, I have friends all across the country who share that same heart, that same desire, that same passion for walking with people to help them along their journey, to get them through the learning curve just a little bit faster, to help them get to where they want to go with their big ideas. Friends like T.W. Shannon in Oklahoma City. T.W. called me one day and he said, Ed, I've got an idea that I want to explore, an idea that we can give back to the community, that we can serve the community. Well, T.W.'s the kind of guy that when he calls me, I'll show up in person. Because I know that if T.W. wants to make an impact, he's going to make an impact. And you can always count me in for that story. So you run for politics, right? So you're a representative?
I was state representative, yeah. I was state representative for 8 years, and those last 2 years of being state representative, I was Speaker of the House.
All right, the youngest Speaker of the House?
I was the youngest in state history in the state of Oklahoma, and then at the time I was the youngest in the country for a while also, yeah.
Sure.
But the fact that there were people willing to entrust me with you know, that sense of responsibility at that age, and it really made you want to step up and make them proud.
So when you reach out to me about this idea of hey, as a bank, we want to serve, we want to give back, you know, and of course, naturally for me, my brain goes to, well, what better way than just to come alongside people and walk alongside people, right? Who are just pursuing big ideas. Because I think it matters. I think it matters you pursue those ideas, and I think it matters that other people see other people's story and how they're pursuing their ideas, right? Because it's important to see that people are vulnerable, right? People are vulnerable enough to say, this is where I am. I may not like where I am, but I'm going to be vulnerable enough to go explore this new idea.
Yeah.
You know, and I really think at the core it's maybe about vulnerability.
There are only two emotions that motivate people, in my opinion. One is love and the other is fear. And when you feel yourself or you see other people acting weird, or they're acting out, or they're lashing out, or they're having unpleasant moments, it's been my experience that it's almost always fear that's driving it. And if you can peel away the layers and figure out, okay, what is it that you're really afraid of? And if you can speak against that fear and let people know it's okay to fail, like, because it's part of the journey. You're going to fail, and once you remove that fear of it, you can go after it. I mean, I think it empowers you. And frankly, when you think about, and I don't want to make this overly preachy, but you know, when you think about whatever you're at, if you're successful, I don't care what your business is, whether you're a musician, you're a banker, you're a politician, you're an attorney, you're a teacher, really if you're good at it, what you're really good at is relationships.
That's right.
And when you think about it, you know, from a spiritual sense, relationships are the most important thing there are. And that's what this experience is about. And so being deliberate about the relationships, those that have less than you, those that have not had the same opportunities, man, what greater reward is there than that? And that's why we do what we do at Chickasaw Community Bank.
So this is about coming alongside people, right? To launch those big ideas, helping people to feel safe, right? Do they have a network where they can take that big jump? That's what the Launchpad is. It's about mentors, and it's about that your dreams and those big ideas, they matter. Few things feed me and excite me as much as that, is watching people dive into big projects. And so my hope is that at the end of our Launchpad, after we do series and shows and meet all these different people from all walks of life here in Oklahoma City, that we get to follow along in that journey and you get to follow along in that journey. And hopefully this will inspire you to go pursue the big ideas that are stirring inside of you. That's all Launchpad is about. It's to inspire you, to encourage you to go after the big ideas.
Come walk with me down the only road we know. Come talk with me, stay and watch the day grow old. I've been waiting for the moment to arrive. Come stand with me down under the stars at night. Come look with me from where I stand. You can see most everything. And I've been waiting for the moment to arrive. I was waiting for the moment.